Welcome back to Musical Connections. This is NextIIConnect. I am your host, Zach Snow, and we are going to introduce you to one of the young, up-and-coming singer-songwriters who was born here in Newfoundland but now is based in Halifax, Nova Scotia. She released her second EP, Memoir, which came out back in April, and it describes her high school shit show experiences. Very reminiscent of Avril Lavigne and Alanis Morissette. Joining me right now to talk about her new EP and everything in between, we're talking with singer-songwriter Madeline. How you doing, Madeline? Welcome to Musical Connections.
I'm so great. How are you?
I am fantastic. And you're back here in St. John's for the first time in about a couple of months or so, or about a year or so, because you've been attending school at Berkeley in Boston, and now you're also attending the Nova Scotia Community College in Nova Scotia.
Yes,
I would imagine
Dartmouth.
Halifax. Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
Yes. No, I came back for Christmas, so I haven't been back here in about 5 months, and I spent the whole month of June back home, and it's been really great.
So what have you been doing here since you've been home?
I've been hanging out with my family a lot. I haven't seen them very much this past year, so I was hanging out with my grandparents and my parents a lot.
That's wonderful. Now, you released your second EP, Memoir. It was your first one since 2020's self-titled debut, and it's a whole different genre for you. You've developed more pop punk rather than, just a straight up pop you did on your first EP, simply titled Madeline.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that later on, but I just want to ask, how are things with you, Madeline, when it comes to, life and your career?
It's awesome. I mean, it's definitely been difficult to learn how to kind of step away from my parents and self-manage a little bit more. But it's been so great, especially to live in a new city, and go to Boston was amazing. So I'm really content with everything that's going on for sure.
Yeah, and when I first met you, it was like the Music and L Awards in 2021. Remember, you were shy as anything, but now look at you. You're confident, and you're really starting to find your own voice and your own image in the music scene, especially with this brand new album, Memoir, that you put out back in April. So I want to go back to your early days in music. I mean, of course, you're one of the young up-and-coming singer-songwriters, of course, born here in Newfoundland, but now based in Nova Scotia. So what got you into music in the first place?
Wow. I think I've been really into music for as long as I can remember. I was like singing and putting on little shows for my parents when I was like 5 years old.
Wow.
And I've been writing songs since I was 7. So I kind of I fell into it a lot more with Zach when he moved here, and I was about 12 years old. And we just started writing a lot and working together a lot, and I was performing a lot. And I was just like, you know what? I want to put out an EP. So we did that. And then, COVID kind of took a big hit for everything. And especially where I was in Newfoundland and in high school, it was really hard to keep going with all the music stuff. But after I graduated, I was like, I need another EP out now. So
yeah,
that's what I was doing. Yeah,
pretty much. And of course, I said off the top here with the intro for this interview that this album Memoir describes your high school shit show experiences. And don't worry, I'll be putting an explicit tag on this interview, so don't worry about a thing. But we'll talk about that later again. But some of the influences you've had on your career so far, Joni Mitchell's a big one for you. I know Alanis Morissette's a huge one for you, and especially Alanis Morissette, I'd say it's probably a big influence for any of the current new millennium female singer-songwriters, especially with Jagged Little Pill in 1995, and how much that has shaped the music scene in the new millennium. And I think a big one for you too is Avril Lavigne, especially with Let Go, like Skater Boy, Complicated, I'm With You. That really kind of shapes your sound and your music taste. So tell me a little bit more about those influences and why they matter so much to you when crafting your sound.
Yeah, so I grew up with a single mom, and she was very much into the angry girl music, and I guess that rubbed off on me a lot. When I say that, I mean Alanis Morissette, You Oughta Know, and Avril Lavigne, being Avril Lavigne. And I think it was just I took a lot of influence from my mom growing up. She was a superhero to me. So I guess just from that, I took on a lot of her influences and people that she liked. And Avril is just incredible. I saw her a couple years ago in Toronto, and it was the most surreal thing I've ever experienced. It was great. And I saw Alanis actually when she was here last summer too. So it was awesome. Totally great experiences.
Do you take a lot of your songwriting from Alanis Morissette?
Yeah, I think honestly I do. I liked how she writes songs about things that she experiences like in everyday life. And like Hand in My Pocket, like I love that song. And just kind of like her take on life and just like her own point of view of things for sure.
Totally. Now, your first EP was your self-titled EP. You released this when you were 15 years old. You're 19 now.
Yes.
And this was an entirely pop record. And I think one of the singles from that record that really stood out was Vain, which you actually shot a music video and directed it for, which was really, really awesome. So at that time, especially when COVID-19 happened, that's how I really first found out about you, was through that record and the coverage you were getting for that record too. So what was it like at that time, being, the young musician that you were back then and still are now? What was it like having your own music out then?
It was definitely really difficult. We had a really big video as well with Gravity that was broadcasted all over Canada on CBC because I did a little picture kind of collage of a bunch of like frontline heroes is what we called it. And that ended up getting over like 500,000 views.
Wow.
And then we had Vain a couple months later, and that got nominated for a Music NL Award when I was only 15, and that was crazy cool. I remember like screaming in my room. I was so excited. But yeah, it was definitely really great for me personally to be able to get music out. But I also had a lot of really difficult experiences in school and with bullying and, other people really trying to tear me down. So it was sweet and salty at the same time, for sure.
And that helped craft your sound for this brand new record that you had out now called Memoir. Of course, I said it a couple times. It reflects on those experiences where you were bullied and, you were isolated in high school. So tell me a little bit more about recording that album, because the first record you worked on with Zach Warner, this one you worked on with Robert Kelly.
Yes. So me and Zach actually had worked with Robert a little bit for the first record, and then ended up working with somebody else. We worked with Scott Hammond after. And I just knew Robert, and I was like, you know what? I want to go back to Robert because Zach had unfortunately moved back to Toronto. I have seen him a couple times, but it's just kind of difficult to like work from here in Toronto. So I wanted to work with Robert, and things just kind of took off. He was really great to work with. We were great at bouncing ideas off of each other, and we're actually recording a couple of new singles right now as well.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's so great.
So the difference between this one, I feel like this one is more of like a real album that's really coming from, from your heart. Because do you find that different from your last album?
Definitely. I think for the first EP, it was really like Disney pop princess kind of idea. And that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I was 13, 14 when I was recording it, released it right after I turned 15. So I think, that was my major influences at that time. And I think also a lot of the experiences with high school and everything that happened kind of made me a little more jaded, made me a little more angry, and I wanted to channel that into my music.
Yeah, so you really had your big Alanis Morissette moment. Like, Alanis had the first two albums, which, had some traction, but it was really like, very bubblegum, very teen pop, and then all of a sudden out comes Jagged Little Pill and changes her career for the rest of her life. And she's one of the most influential singer-songwriters of the new millennium.
Definitely. And she has been such a big influence for me. I love all of Jagged Little Pill. I've been listening to it on repeat since I was like in 8th grade. She's so cool.
Now, on the note of that, you've attended Berkeley College, and the only other people that I can recall attending that are from here are Pete McDonald from With Violet, and Kat McCleavey, who I believe lives in Toronto now, or it's probably moved back to the province. I haven't spoken to Kat in a long time, actually. But you played a show with the Music Aspire program in 2023, which was the big blowout show in Boston. And one thing that stood out from that show, you did a cover of Alanis Morissette's You Oughta Know. And you posted that to Facebook and YouTube, and that got some great traction there, too. So what was it like playing one of Alanis' signature tunes, and what was the reaction like from your point of view?
Oh my gosh, I wanted to do it justice. I remember when I went in, so the way that Berkeley worked was we were put into ensembles based on our audition. So I remember going in and seeing the director, and he was like, I want you to sing an Alanis Morissette song. And I was like, oh crap. I really have to do this justice because she's so incredible and she's so significant. So I remember like practicing in my dorm room all the time and making sure I got it right. And the night of the show was just totally surreal. Looking out into the audience and seeing so many people was absolutely crazy. But I'm so glad I did it. And it was just an experience of a lifetime for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you really like established yourself as I was just looking at that actually before this conversation too, and I'm just like, you really did that justice. Like that performance was very raw and very visceral. Again, the whole content of this record is like, a cathartic release of everything that you went through throughout high school.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I found a lot of that cathartic release through that Alanis Morissette song too at Berkeley, because that was right after I had graduated high school. So working on that for the whole summer definitely put a lot of emotion into that for sure.
Now, you just said that you're working on some songs with Robert Kelly. Anything else in the cauldron that we should be taking note of? What else is next for Madeline?
Yeah, so I have a couple of songs that I'm working on with Robert, and I also wrote a song with my friend Silas Bonnell that will probably be coming out maybe in the fall, probably soon.
Awesome. Now, for people who want to find out more about Madeline and where she'll be playing to here or, where you're based to now in Nova Scotia, where can they go?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Madeline Salter. TikTok is also Madeline Salter. And my Twitter is Madeline_Salter. But for the most part, those are the best places to find me.
And you also have a website too, MadelineOfficial.com?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Well, Madeline, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Musical Connections podcast. And this won't be the last time we'll be hearing from you for sure. I can't wait to hear those new songs you're working on with Robert and anything else in between. And I look forward to seeing you here when the ECMAs are here in St. John's next year.
Yes, I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing to bring all my new friends back to the island and, show them all around Newfoundland and downtown. It's going to be so fun.
Madeline, thanks again for joining me on the Musical Connections podcast. You have a wonderful day, and congratulations on the release of your new EP, Memoir, and best luck with everything else you're doing.
Thank you so much.